Hey smokers, Jiraga1 here, and today we're gonna see if we can finally get SSD in the Windows 98 machine. Now you're probably thinking back to this video where we tried to do just that, and it didn't go so well. So if you're curious as to what happened, go ahead and click on the annotation there. But what's going to be different this time if we're trying exactly the same thing, expecting different results? Well, this time we have an IDE SSD. That's right, it's real. Now you're probably wondering, why didn't you do this before? Well, the problem is that IDE SSDs are expensive and a little bit hard to come by. Well, not really hard to come by, but... So yeah, here it is. Yeah, this one's got a little bit of heft to it. It's made out of metal, unlike some of the other SSD offerings we've seen. Now, obviously, you're going to notice that this is Mini IDE, or PETA, or however you want to pronounce that. So this obviously isn't going to plug directly into a traditional IDE connector on an old motherboard. But luckily for us, we have a IDE to, well, IDE adapter. Now this is, has words in the wrong order, but basically this is a direct pin over straight to from, well, big IDE to little IDE. The only real thing that makes any difference is just these resistors, probably for the LEDs, just to show you what's going on. Everything else is a direct pin, so it's not like we have any weird controller chips or anything like that that could be causing some of our compatibility problems we've seen on some motherboards. So this should work, I guess you could say, natively on the IDE bus there. So let's actually plug it in and see if this will even work. But of course, before we do that, we want to see just how absolutely atrocious this is going to look once we put this thing on it. Okay, that felt like I was going to break something, but, well, that looks pretty cool, I guess. We have to plug this into what I'm calling the surrogate machine, because that's what we're going to be using as the intermediary machine so that we can transfer the data from the Windows 98 hard drive. Now, luckily, from that previous video that I annotated a little earlier, we already have an image of the Windows 98 hard drive, so no need to change anything. We really just need to plug this in and transfer the data to it. So, pretty simple, right? Just plug in the ID cable, bam, and then get your favorite Molex power connector, plug that in as well. Assuming it's not upside down, and then which you have to turn it the correct way. And then it'll make a sound like that, which makes you think that you might have broken something, but you probably haven't. And then you can just sort of set it anywhere, because it's, it's an SSD. It's not really going to complain too much, but you'll probably end up being paranoid about it anyway because you haven't used it yet. So let's go ahead and get this started up. And that went by way too fast. I couldn't even tell if it was working. So okay. King Spec KSD. Okay, we got it. And now we're loading up the Acronis loader and turning off autofocus. So here we are at this very troubling for white balance screen, which is the start area for Acronis loader. And since you've already seen this in the last video, this should be pretty familiar. Okay, so just like before, we're going to need to do a recovery. Browser backup. So here's our same image that we created in the last video. So we'll want to recover using whole disks and partitions, not just individual files, obviously. Want to recover both FAT32 and the master boot record and track 0. Just like before, not changing anything, except for one thing that a couple people pointed out, and that was to recover disk signature, which apparently made it so it didn't work last time. So some of that may be to blame because of the adapter, the SATA to IDE adapter used before, the SSD itself, and Windows 98, or, well, it actually was this. So we're going to recover the disk signature anyway, whether or not we need it. Destination of disk 1 needs to be pretty much our only choice, which is the King Spec KSD P825, blah, 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 blah. This is our SSD. How? Doesn't matter. Clicking hard disk 1, clicking hard disk 1. That's fine. Everything looks okay. Not really a whole lot of options. Proceed, I guess? I mean, there's only one hard disk plugged in, except, well, there's two hard disks plugged in, but that's the only other one. So if we're lucky, this should go off without a hitch within 5 minutes. So here we can see the SSD indicator lights from the IDE adapter. The red and green LEDs is the closest thing you're going to get for a Christmas video on the channel. Enjoy. Yeah, it took about 6 minutes. So now that it's all copied over successfully, we can move it into the Windows 98 machine. But before we do that, let's do another boot test to see how long it takes Windows 98 to start up. Yes! I actually stole that from the other video. Something tells me it won't take any amount of difference longer whether or not I boot it now or I booted then. I didn't really make any changes to it. So the real test here is how long does it take to boot up off of the SSD? Let's find out. So the real trick now is not finding out whether or not it'll boot Windows 98, but instead whether or not this motherboard will recognize the SSD at all. Before it didn't, at least not on SATA. We had to use the SATA to IDE adapter to actually get anything to, show up. So since this is IDE already, and we don't have an adapter that really changes the whole ball game, it's just straight IDE to IDE, I don't see how anything could go wrong, honestly, but, that seems to be happening every time I try to put an SSD in something that's, old. So, we'll just put that right there for now, I guess. Alright, so the time to beat is about 56 seconds. We're going to power this on to just see the boot menu. Then I'll shut it back off, and then we'll turn it on. Start the timer when we see the compact logo. So let's go ahead and turn it on. Loading boot menu. Moment of truth. Oh my god. It's there! We can move from it! Okay. Everybody calm down, We don't know if it's gonna happen yet. Power it back off. And we start the timer. Well, I guess I could just start the timer when I press enter here, because it would functionally be the same amount of boot. Really, the extra second or so is really just waiting for the hardware to start up. So either way you guys want to do it, I'll do it this way. You guys can add on a couple more seconds if you want. You'll get the idea. So I'll press start and press enter at the same time. You guys ready? Let's do it. What's this? Well, it doesn't work at all. It just doesn't work. It's there, but it doesn't work. So, just when I thought all hope was lost, obviously, because, look at the situation. It's not going to boot. I pulled out this beauty, I think you all recognize this from a certain other video, and decided to put the SSD in there. Of course, it doesn't look pretty because it's upside down. So let's go ahead and once again put the screw back in this one. Now, obviously, when trying to run Windows 98 on a computer that's, newer than Windows 98, it's not going to have any drivers, but I just want you to see this real quick. Now this is by no means ready to go, but if it didn't have problems with drivers, this would have already started. this is off the SSD, so something is getting in the way. What could it be? Could it actually be possible that we have a problem with yet another adapter? Could this one just suck? Do all adapters that look anything like this suck? Do all adapters that go to IDE no matter what, do they just all suck? Because Windows 98 works and is actually bootable off the SSD after the clone. The only problem we're having is that it doesn't have any drivers. So now it's trying to install drivers for a system that I'm not even going to use, and it's creating a whole bunch of junk on the SSD, but it doesn't really matter because it's going to end up grinding through it all anyway because it has such a fast access time. So now what am I going to do with this? I'm going to have to create a whole new another Windows 98 machine, or do I just need to buy another one of these that actually works? Or maybe I'll just try it again. So I'm just puzzled, just wondering what could have gone wrong. I mean, this is writable, this is readable. I can actually plug this into my main computer with a USB adapter. I can see all the files on it. So that works. But what I haven't done is I haven't tried plugging it into my computer with this. Seeing if that works. So one potential weak spot of this is the wiggling. Now, how much does the wiggling affect the issue? Probably not at all, because if you think about it, remember on the screen, it actually identified the drive by name, KingSpec. So that means that some amount of data had to go from here, through here, into there. It just didn't want to play nicely after that. So either that computer just sucks ass, or something went wrong along the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try this in a computer and see if this is actually not functional. Okay, so this is the USB adapter I'm going to use. We actually have to use an external power supply to power this thing up. So right now we're going from through one adapter and then another adapter and then into the computer. So this has very many points of failure, but what I can tell you is that this worked previously using just going from this to this. So that's okay. That's probably going to work fine. So let's see if anything will actually come up when we plug this in. Drive powered on, and then it flickered and stopped. That's good, I think. Set it down very slowly. USB device not recognized. Yeah, this thing is ass. And probably is killing my adapter. Look at that smile. He's just fucking laughing at me. He's like, ha ha, I don't work. You'll never get it working. Fuck you. So how about process of elimination? On this, we have a copy of Windows XP, or at least I think we do. It is also a 2.5-inch mini IDE or pay-to-drive. So, to ensure that this portion is working correctly, we'll merely disconnect it from this and connect it to this. Pretty simple stuff. Except this pins on this are kind of bent, which is problematic. Pretty good. So now, we're going to see if a mechanical drive will boot up in the Windows 98 machine. Now, loading up Windows XP on this bit of hardware is no problem at all. In fact, this motherboard, I believe, came with Windows XP, so this should actually be able to start it up. We'll see Windows XP essentially make its second debut on my channel, I think. This is still a little bit wobbly. So there we go. We're not using the SSD now, we're using a mechanical drive. But we really just want to see if it will get detected. If it doesn't get detected, then we'll have to get another IDE adapter. So let's see what the lights do when I power it on. Same thing they did before, just red light. Of course, it's not doing anything right now. And so now in the hard disk group we have Toshiba instead of the KingSpec. So it does seem that it's at least working a little bit. So let's see what happens when we try to boot off of that. A disk read error occurred. That seems to be the exact same error we got before. So something tells me that there's something wrong with this adapter. Or at least something wrong enough so that it won't work with this motherboard. So if that's the case, will it boot with this adapter with the SSD on that computer? But before I even try that, we gotta test it to see if it'll work with the original hard disk. This thing has been broken this whole time and I didn't know about it. Well, let's find out. If all works how it's supposed to, it should just boot in Windows 98. Let's go to the boot menu just like we did before. We have a totally different model number there. Oh, of course. Asshole. Okay, so this will boot without this. This, we don't know if this works yet. Do we know if this works yet? I don't know. We haven't actually found out if this works yet or not. This will boot and can be recognized. Well, we assume this works because this copied files to this with this. So I'm assuming that this only will work on newer hardware. Is there something I don't know about PATA that like is baffling me here? Was it like totally incompatible with older motherboards? Doesn't make much sense because this motherboard is like a Windows XP era motherboard. Well, the Windows 98 machine that is, which is still just on for some reason. Anyway, we'll leave it on. You'll hear the noise. I'll plug this back in to this again, and there. Okay. Okay, we're in. So, it's so wobbly. Oh my god, it feels like it's gonna snap off. Oh god, why is there cable in the way? Oh my, oh no, oh lord, Jesus, oh fuck. Is that broken in there? I don't know. Okay. I'm going to pray that that stays together. We're gonna eject the CD drive right here. Oh, I can't because it's unplugged. Well, I guess that's functional. Oh my god. It's doing it. It's doing ScanDisk! Holy piss. It works. So, what have we learned here today? The SSD works. The very flimsy and somewhat unpredictable IDE to IDE adapter seems to work just fine. It boots up Windows 98 on two computers under two different circumstances. What else are we missing? Oh yeah, that only leaves one weak link, doesn't it? This thing. Our current Windows 98 machine, which is perfect in every conceivable way, except for one thing. It just will not read the drive. I mean, with that adapter, it just does not like that adapter. Fine. That's perfectly fine. That just means we'll have to move on and build another Windows 98 machine. That's right. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to Duraga 1. I've now successfully rebuilt the Windows 98 machine and it works. Hell no I didn't! Holy shit, it just works all on its own! Take a look at this. So this is the drive I tried to boot off of. That's not working, so you can see we're not trying to boot off of that. This is the actual Windows 98 machine drive, and what do we have over here? Let's take a little walk. Oh look, it's the SSD and it's working! Now, what did we do differently? Well, let's find out. So after a little bit of tweaking, I managed to get it to boot. Now, how? So as you can see, I have a brand new IDE cable here. Fresh from, well, wherever I got this from. I guess a Gigabyte motherboard box or something? I don't know. It's new, it's shiny, it's got that navy blue color, so it's pretty good. This is the cable that is still plugged into the motherboard that I was using. So I'm actually using the same IDE socket on the board that the optical drives were using. And this just works. We actually did it! The clone worked! Everything worked! It's actually working! Holy crap, look at this, man! Damn it, all these games require the CD to play! Damn it! Well, except for this one. Damn it! I forgot that happened! Trust me, it worked. Ooh, 5 1/4 inch floppy drive. I don't have a 5 1/4 inch floppy drive. What the hell did I do? What the hell? Well, aside from every game crashing, it seems to work fine. My God, I'm finally doing it. I'm finally playing Lego Rock Raiders on an SSD! I don't believe it! Oh God. A lot of CD-ROM access time for that soundtrack. The question is it worth it? Oh God. Something is wrong with that IDE bus, I'll tell you right now. Come on, teleport out quicker. Alright, so here we go. Moment of truth. I'll just start the timer right when I see the compact logo. Damn it! Okay, shave off a second. Remember, time to beat is 56 seconds. Come on, you can do it. You can do it, SSD. You can beat it. You can beat that ugly old hard drive. Come on, just a little bit closer. You still have about a 30-second margin of difference. 40, 42, 43, 44, 46. It increased the boot time by 8 seconds! Ah! Alright, so there you have it. Windows 98 finally on an SSD. Thanks for watching, everybody.